All right, welcome back to the channel. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Running late today. Had to make my daddy some coffee right before. I had to make my dad some coffee right before the show started. So please forgive me for being a little bit late. I do have, however, some more information for you guys. As I told you, man, we're gonna be digging. I'm digging, man. I'm digging the best I can dig. So it seems like you guys are not just running around, and I don't know who it is. I have to tell you, I don't know who it is. Not putting any names on this or anything. But you guys are running around blocking fights, messing with people at gyms. You guys are in gyms, in the street, walking up on people in the street, implying that you're going to hurt them if they get involved in making certain fights. Man, it's good to know that thuggery is still alive and well in boxing. I have to tell you, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see that human nature is so consistent, and that over millennia that people behave in the same way. As far back as ancient times as you can study, there was always that element of bully around who thought that through their sheer size or their numbers or their willingness to commit heinous crimes, that they can redirect people away from things that they would otherwise do. I remember listening to Bob Arum talk about when he worked with Muhammad Ali and when he was with the Nation of Islam. Muhammad Ali was with the Nation of Islam. And wherever Bob Arum went, Bob Arum knew he was safe. He knew that no matter, because he went in the room, he was negotiating with somebody, there was going to be no problems whatsoever in that negotiation. Bob Arum could do his business and didn't have to worry about anybody. He said that on an interview with Najee of Cigar Talk. And shout out to Najee of Cigar Talk. I saw your tweet. Shout out, brother. I appreciate you saying you're not an industry plant, because that's very, very important. You know, what I said yesterday, I was throwing some pretty sweeping statements about people, and I certainly hope it didn't land on the wrong people. So shout out to Najee from Cigar Talk. I did see your tweet, and I know that earlier that day, I was going pretty hard on what I was referring to as bots, but I appreciate you using the word industry plant, because I think that that's more appropriate and something that people can understand a little bit more easy, because it's more of a common nomenclature. So thank you very much, Najee of Cigar Talk. Much love, much support to you, brother. You ever need anything from me, man, just let me know. I appreciate that. Saying that you put all that work in and you're not an industry plant, and I never thought you were. So please forgive me if it made it seem like, what I said was too broad sweeping, even though you didn't respond to that to me. But the general topic was out there yesterday, because I'm definitely telling you, there's a lot of funny business going on in boxing, man. And people, let me say what's up to everybody, man. Basically, there's more than one reason for why Gervonta Davis's fights take a long time, and why PBC fights take a long time to get done, and why fighters are having all these problems and difficulties in their life in between the long periods of time where they can't get a fight done. There's more than one way to try to shut down competition. You can have direct competition, and we see what's going on with the indirect competition on YouTube. We see the boxing channels with the blatant propaganda. We see them switching narratives depending on, the time of day, and going very, very hard, verbally very, very hard, with what some people would consider, subliminals being shot around, man. You know how they say people sneak diss? People sneak diss, but they also throw all kind of subliminals around. So, and I've been well aware of this for a while, but like I said, I'm not a journalist, so I don't really search and look out for things often, because a lot of times I just don't want to know. However, like I said, I'm taking time off, and I'm spending more time away from doing videos, away from doing live streams, so that I can bring you information, right, that I can go out and get. If I don't spend any time on it, it takes a little bit of time for that stuff to accumulate. So it is accumulated, and what I've been told and been made to understand is very consistent with the news that has come out in boxing over the last year or so. It's all documented. It's all documented. And it's not only an intimidation campaign, I'm being told. It's not only an intimidation campaign that is in the public media, on social media, and in the boxing writers, but it's also intimidation that's on the street. And that's why people are running around bragging about their street this, their street that, their street this, their street that. Because these people need protection around them to make the fight. For lack of a better term, let's call it muscle. You need somebody around you, just like Bob Arum needed somebody around him, the Nation of Islam, to defend him from what people had considered to be the mafia or the mob back in the 1960s. That element is still there. That element is there in music. That you see Floyd Mayweather Jr. walking around with bodyguards everywhere he goes, big masses of bodyguards. That's for a reason. But not everybody can afford a bodyguard. Not everybody can afford one. They don't come free. So, people always ask me why I don't go to fights, as if I'm scared to go to a fight. I always find that funny. Like, why do you care if I'm going to a fight? These same people, generally these same people, without pointing fingers at anybody. But we all know that this is true. We all know it's true. But I wanted to tell you that the investigation that I told you is taking place is most definitely taking place. And the information coming out around conversations that take place in gyms when there's interviews, setting up for interviews, going in people's gyms, giving their addresses out on the internet, giving their address out on the internet. There are people, I made a complaint one time because I was like, how do I know Deontay Wilder's address? This should not be this should not be public information. And they told me, oh, no, it's just that's a house he's selling. Like, no, you're putting his address out there on that website, knowing full well he has security concerns. And the address was revealed by a boxing commission. I remember it. I remember calling them and saying that you can't do that. That is a risk-serious threat. There's no reason for his address to be public information. There was a video that I saw about somebody putting Calvin Ford's personal address out there and putting his security at risk. There are people boxers that have to hire security because they take these threats very seriously. I don't hire security. I don't take your threats seriously. But I mean, it's disturbing to hear that I'm not the only one, just a YouTuber. So I guess I should have known that it wouldn't just be a YouTuber that people would do that to, that they would do it to the people in the cities that they live in because they think that they're connected to some people that can back that stuff up, find out the information. It's pretty much a disgusting thing when you dig into these RICO investigations, when you dig into racketeering, when you dig into coercion and intimidation, releasing of private information and personal information to people when you know that puts that person at risk. I didn't practice law for a reason. Right out of law school, I did contracts for family businesses. I didn't want to work as a prosecutor because I didn't want to see all this stuff. I saw enough of it. And I'm like, man, you're going to wind up putting a whole bunch of people in jail with this stuff. So I didn't want to do it. But I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, man, you guys are so flagrant. You're so flagrant with it. And I feel sorry for these boxers because there's people out here talking about fights not getting made because this guy's ducking this guy or ducking that guy. But this dude wants to fight that guy, but he knows he can't fight that guy. Every time I say something about Turki Al-Sheikh, and I'm not connecting this with Turki Al-Sheikh necessarily, because I don't think this is Turki Al-Sheikh. I don't. Not this. I don't think, not what I'm speaking of is not Turki Al-Sheikh. But I've been told on a regular basis, be careful of him because what's he going to do to me? Right? That kind of conversation takes place on this channel every day. I'm telling you, Kamala Harris said that that YouTube, the platform, needs to start being held responsible for what creators do. But they're also may be held responsible for what their commentators do and the things that they allow to pass through their financial ecosystem. I'm telling you, man. I don't know what else I can do. You guys always want to say I'm fake this, I'm fake that. But no, man, I don't have to go to a gym to visit a gym. You know, I got so much family in Philadelphia, man, in these gyms that have been boxing, fought in boxing. My dad fought in Philadelphia gyms. They know exactly how these fights, how all that stuff in fights go down. So when you just want to find out who it is, you just get in contact with them and find out exactly, hey, how do they do this? Oh, you pour water here, you don't ice them down, you stumble with the chair, you all kind of stuff, man. All kind of stuff. It's pretty amazing. I should write a book. I think I will. Please excuse me. I'm just going to talk for a while. I'm going to be more talking to you than in the chat today. And I appreciate anybody that supports the channel. I really do. It's huge for the channel. It's important. But this message, I just want to kind of deliver in a short one. Consider it more kind of like a video. Man. So when you guys are debating ducking and who's ducking who and all of that stuff, please add into it the fact that certain people do not want fights to be made. They will do almost anything to ensure those fights are not made. And it goes well beyond, and has always gone well beyond just going to the Boxing Writers Association of America. Now, let me tell you also, I told you this investigation is widespread. I told you. And I told you don't know who you're talking to because people that are under investigation can't tell you. But people under investigation have to tell everything to them. You guys want breaking news. You guys want inside information. There was a fight that was fixed this weekend. Let's not have our memory go too far off from the fact that there is on tape a fixed fight taking place. There's also talk about Errol Spence Jr. and gambling going on in that gym. What is it? World-class gym? Rumors that I can't sustain. I can't verify. But there's all around the gym because we started trying to invest in gyms. And we find out that there's a lot of gambling going on in those gyms. A lot. People will spar. Friends will just meet up and spar and gamble with their friends there. They don't even tell them. They're there, just like you gamble on basketball games, pick up basketball games. They gamble on that too. Yeah, they do. Major NBA players. A lot of the gambling debt around NBA players have to do with off-season basketball games. Not just them sitting down around playing poker. Those guys gamble on games all the time, and what happens? They get caught up in big amounts of gambling debt because people start fixing those pickup games. But like I said, if you're in one industry doing it and you're doing a little bit in another industry, they will follow you from one industry to the other. So if you're in the music industry and you're involved in trying to play a little bit with these street bullies, you see if they can get some inside information, keep this guy from doing this, keep some guys from doing that. Bro, you're also going to be over there in the music industry. And they're going to look at you in the music industry. Yes, they are. And A$AP Rocky got off like a champ. Congratulations, A$AP Rocky. I was pulling for you, A$AP. I was pulling for A$AP Rocky, by the way. So anyway, that U.S. attorney, Damian Williams, the one that filed the original charges that left, he's in private practice now. And my understanding is the same guy that's doing those is looking for civil suits because there's a cavalcade of civil suits coming off of all of the investigations that he started. Very slick legal move for him because he's going to wind up being a very wealthy man. I'm paying attention to this U.S. Attorney's Office, the DOJ, Department of Justice, the Trump's replacements, the people he's hiring and firing. It's very, very interesting stuff, man. It's going to come downhill and have a lot of effect on your ability to put on sports events in certain places. I'm telling you, man, it's a very, very interesting thing, man. Very, very interesting thing. What up, McGaverick? Hey, man, what up, man? He said, talk your ish, tend to God. Yeah. I'm just telling you, bro. I told you I was not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. So I was like, niggas was like, what does he do? What does he do? I was like, okay, I'll show you what I do. I'll show you what I do. This is what I do. Mm-hmm. This is what I do. So just understand that if what I'm saying is true, I've been into giving warnings all week. If you're at gyms, bullying people at gyms, understand people know you're bullying people at gyms. They know it. And the people that you're bullying at gyms who might then gamble and maybe play around a little bit in sparring, maybe wind up, gambling on a sparring match that you don't know you're gambling about. And then you wind up having them hit with something and hurt because you're gambling, but you're gambling because you're also trying to shut that fight down because you're trying to get that fighter hurt. Because the fighter is under contract has to go into the fight, but he's going to be fighting injured because you tried to injure him before he got in the ring. Nothing but the ring is square, bro. Nothing but the ring is square, bro. That's why they got law enforcement, buddy. I'm telling you. I hang out with some sheriffs. Man, sheriffs are the coolest dudes in the world. Austin, Texas, the sheriff's department, hung out with them. They hang out with the FBI. I was like chilling with them. You know what I mean? Drinking at a big old, and man, you'd be interested. You'd be surprised. You would really be surprised what sheriffs know. Houston sheriffs know. Dallas sheriffs know. You'll be surprised what Dallas, Texas sheriffs are willing to share with people that donate a lot of money to their campaigns. You'll be surprised the information that you can get out of that sheriff's department. Not that I've done it. Not that I would do that. Not that I would do that. But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how they will know who it was that called in emergency calls to houses. You'll be surprised. Do you remember when back down in Florida, when Gervonta Davis had all that drama where his girl called, all that drama that took place there, that wound up not being anything other than a minor argument between Gervonta and his girl, turned into an example of him being a woman beater. Let's not forget the woman beating campaign that they were spreading on Gervonta Davis on things that didn't even include that. He lost his temper one time, grabbed a girl by the collar. Shouldn't have done it. But you guys, you know what you did. How y'all always know what's going on with Jermell Charlo and that his girlfriend called the cops and he's got a divorce and there's drama going on in his family. It's almost like in the NBA where these wives all of a sudden, let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you a true story. In Houston, I can tell you a true story that happened. I went to school in New Orleans. So I know a lot of women in New Orleans and I knew a lot of women in Houston. So the women in Houston who were in New Orleans have family, obviously, in Houston. So they would tell stories about NBA players and how they set NBA players up and how they set NFL players up. They would talk about it because he would buy a house. They would buy a house, move into a house they bought, fully furnished house they bought, right? Everything's supposed to be new. Everything's supposed to be new for them. Did the whole thing for them. But guess what? They also did it for the last guy that they moved into that house. And all those girls were in the same house with the same football player. And they will switch it between football players and basketball players. And all these women would work and talk about who was going to try to date who was going to cheat on who was going to set this dude up, who was going to have his baby. The whole setup game that these pimps run. Because the pimps don't just run games where you sell girls on streets. Pimps also set your wives up. They also do all that shit too. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. But yet you keep seeing these fighters with all these women problems that pop up. But again, we know who the women have been talking to. We also have the bank account statements of the women. At least the people doing the investigation does. Not we, excuse me. Also have the bank records of the girls that called in because went to court and it all got thrown out. So they start investigating the accusation itself and work backwards from the accusation to the people that inspired the accusation to begin with. That's the train of logic that leads to you clowns. That's why your fights, that's a major reason why your fights aren't happening. But you guys don't want to debate that, do you? You don't want to debate that and say, hold on, man, you know Top Rank and Al Heyman don't work together. Those negotiations get broke up all the time for things unrelated to the actual promoters themselves. The pressures around the fighters refusing to take fights that promoters want to take them, want them to fight, even if they have to take less money than taking that fight. Well, they will turn down or retire career high paydays before they will actually take a fight. Why would anybody do that? You put that on top of somebody else coming in from another angle and dumping a bunch of free money on the same fighters that are worried about fighting your fighters because they got a lot of drama around their gyms. It's the whole picture. It's the whole picture of the socioeconomic structure of boxing. And I've been studying it for years. For years. I can recite the case against you. Myself. I can recite the case against you myself. Obviously. It's very obvious. Do you notice that Ryan Garcia got doped? Ryan Garcia got doped. New York suspended him only because he didn't notify him of those supplements. But who did the supplements come from? Came from a guy named Scooter, because Scooter was told that Ryan couldn't make weight. That's where the contaminant came from. Right there. Whoever called him to come in and bring that stuff in. And he put himself on tape to defend himself months before. So he had it on tape. I was invited to come in. These are the supplements that I used. He made sure he had all that shit documented. So you knew it was not him. And they ensured that they sent that information straight to the testing agency. The testing agency all of a sudden doesn't know what they're talking about. You guys don't realize that will not admit the New York State Athletic Commission did not suspend him for those supplements. Because they made let me tell you why. Because they made a convincing case for contamination. Because they sent in positive results from the samples that he actually used. They don't even really care if it was in the lot. That's something Victor Conti brings up. You have to match it to the lot. The whole lot does not have to be poison. No, it doesn't. The only thing that has to be poison is the one that he gives us. Because they're not going to put it in the whole lot. They're going to put it in that. And they can say, well, no, just because you can give them a bunch of clean stuff of the same deal doesn't mean that his wasn't contaminated. He has to say it was contaminated. And he can prove and did prove that he got that very close to the fight from Scooter. Because Scooter documented that he gave it to him on Mill City Boxing. But that is another guy that is a convincing case for contamination that magically turns a loss into a no contest, but they wanted to push for an actual win. And they wanted all of the tapes for the fights to be removed off of the internet. How many people is this that keep getting dizzy in boxing? Damn, there's a show. Man, it's like a monster flu going around in boxing arenas. Deontay Wilder gets sick. AJ gets sick. Dubois gets sick. Floyd Schofield gets sick. Like, god dang. It's like a bunch of mosquitoes are chasing boxing just to sting certain people at certain times. Let me repeat. AJ, Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence Jr., Floyd Schofield, Daniel Dubois, 5. And that is big name fighters. We're not even talking about the fighters that are just on the card or cards that don't get televised. Manager Marty already said how some of these managers get paid by selling fighters and getting a portion on both sides. Where do they know these fighters? They know these fighters in the gym. What do these dudes do on Twitter? But act like fake bullies. They got all kind of inside information. Like PBC's going broke. This guy is firing this coach. Why don't you see Calvin Ford with Gervonta Davis? And why is he with Barry Hunter? Well, it's kind of obvious why he's with Barry Hunter, isn't it? I thought it was very obvious why he's in training in DC and Barry Hunter is there. If I was Tank, I'd want Barry Hunter and Calvin Ford there with me too, especially if you're trying to walk up in gyms bullying people, because you're not walking up in Barry Hunter's gym bullying nobody for a fight with a DC dude that you guys didn't even want to have happen. And we know, at least my understanding is, Barry Hunter is the king of DC boxing, the king of DC boxing, big time baller in DC, very, very serious dude in DC that is responsible for the growth of many of those fighters, including most likely Lamont Roach. So why would Gervonta Davis be with Barry Hunter in DC working with him when you know Barry Hunter works with kids in DC and knows Lamont Roach very, very well? Obviously, you want Barry Hunter involved in the sport, involved in that fight. Why? Come on, man. Same reason people want James Prince involved in managing them. Absolutely. What did Bob Arum say about Floyd? Hey, man, I had to pay Jay Prince a bunch of money to keep James Prince off Floyd Mayweather Jr. Bob Arum just said it right out that there was that beef between the two of them. And then that's why we know that Jay Prince don't get along with Al Heyman. And Al Heyman doesn't show his face in public very much. Maybe he doesn't feel like going to fights and being intimidated. I'm telling you, I walked into a fight by myself. And Sam Watson looked at me like, you're here by yourself? I'm like, yeah, I'm here by myself. And he was like, his eyes like opened up. Like, man, yeah, I'm here by myself. These dudes, anyway. Look, man, y'all shouldn't have to worry about these dudes. Because you guys are out here, Turkey Al Sheik got caught fixing fights. So, and plus, I want to also tell you, the same guys are going to argue to tell you that I'm not telling you the truth are the same ones that publicized Glovegate for months and months and months and months and months. They're also the same people that reported egg weights in Tyson Fury's gloves for months and months and months and months and months. They're the same ones that talk corruption. Corruptions. Headline in their videos, headlines on their whatever they were writing. Corruption. But now when it's time to talk about real corruption and how it's really going down, how it's been going down for centuries, like you guys, just because you got taught the game don't mean you made the game. You know what I'm talking about? To say the game is to be sold, not told. I hear you. You selling the game. I get you. I get you. You're selling the game. Mm-hmm. Sitting up in people's houses. I have no idea. Why would y'all be in niggas' houses? If they don't feel like they need you to be in their houses. Man, these boxers get all kind of threats. Again, go back to the original boxing and what boxing is. What it is. What it is. Not what you don't even, I'm trying to tell you, these people, if you ask them, how do you score a boxing match? How do you score a boxing match? They can't tell you. But yet you guys want to act like you're fans of the sport. You had King, this Saudi Arabian clown, King. I know who you are, bro. You're Saudi Arabian. I'm Yemen. Nigga, you are Saudi Arabian. Anyway, Saudi Arabian King comes on here, says he's only been in boxing for 2 years. He's been in boxing for 2 years. But yet he's got an opinion on every single solitary thing to do with the PBC in a negative fashion. In a negative fashion. And is put on these panels and spreads that nonsense. Like this dude ain't part of that. I heard people bribe YouTube moderators to demonetize videos. They bribe YouTube moderators. I had heard that back when I was in other people's channels, and they were like, man, they got YouTube moderators that go around flagging people's videos. My understanding is some of these dudes are literally YouTube moderators. They're literally YouTube moderators that got their own YouTube channels so that they can affect their competition. And again, comes from what? People that dump unreal amounts of money on the sport of boxing. Seriously, CA, Creative Artists, Endeavor that owns the UFC, is heavily involved in disseminating public relations information for their clients. And sometimes they're a little bit unscrupulous. But trust me, that boxing's not that serious for them. They're not going to continue to do it if lawsuits get dropped. And by the way, I'm told lawsuits have been dropped. Lawsuits have been dropped. Let me go to these super chats real quick, man. Phenomenal. Now, you gave them warning shots a few months ago. Gloves off now. Exactly. Gloves off. Dude. They're in your gyms. They're in the gym. Just so you know, when you go bully them, these dudes are already under investigation. They are already there. They're already being monitored. The people you're bullying are monitored. Exactly. Gathan Jason Gather said, boxing is a sport where the lions are scared of the rats. Yeah. Like, man, I ain't scared of no rat now. I ain't scared of no rat. I'm telling you, though, I was always interested. Like, I don't want to go to these gyms. But the media can have passes into your gyms. Yeah, they can. Sneaky. Jeep Red Boy in the building. Thank you, brother. Jeep Red Boy back in there again. Thank you, brother. We're getting close to the goal. Kurt Hurd in the building. Thank you, brother. Phenomenal show. Supplements came from Scooter. Scooter is connected to Conti. Conti is connected to Haney and Vada. Scooter sent the supplements himself, and his stuff came back positive. No rocket science. Do the math. It's very straightforward. That's why they didn't get him for that. And he sent the stuff in himself. He sent it in himself. No, I'm sending you this stuff myself. Well, it means that nobody can replace what was in that. Whether they want to replace it with clean or they want to replace it with dirty. You can't do it because he insisted on sending it in himself. And it came back in those supplements, consistent with the amount that they found in his urine. So that's it. But he did get a violation in New York because of what? Because people negotiated it. And you saw all the lawsuits that came after that. You saw how Devin Haney, Bill Haney, Victor Conti, and these guys were pressuring the New York State Athletic Commission. You know they are, and you know Brandon Adams is up on federal charges for bribes. What bribes did Brandon Adams take? Dude, politics, boxing, and gambling. Politics, boxing, and gambling. These people's cousins sit on top of the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, the New York State Athletic Commission. They have several people in that New York State Athletic Commission. And what it was, my understanding was a negotiation within the New York State Athletic Commission because they couldn't prove it. But yet New York State Athletic Commission, certain people there pushed very hard to have some type of penalty because it was just in there. So they settled on that. And Ryan didn't lose no money. They had to forfeit it, the sponsorships and all that stuff. Ryan, I don't even know if Ryan gave that money back. Or Ryan gave it back. Exactly. Ryan had to get that shit back to Oscar. And Oscar then had another fight with Ryan. Now, guess what Devin is begging for? Devin is begging for a 3-fight deal. He's going to sue unless he gets a 3-fight deal. He's suing for a 3-fight deal. Yeah. Bill Haney is suing Oscar De La Hoya for a 3-fight deal. He put up a frivolous lawsuit. And I'm telling you, in my opinion and opinions of licensed attorneys who read that stuff, they were like, that's garbage. That's gone off the face. No way. That's just trying to bring what? Financial pressure on them with the cost of their lawyers, with all of that stuff, where it's just say, hey, isn't it just cheaper to make money with us and give us 3 fights? Another legal intimidation, right? Legal intimidation. Look at all these frivolous lawsuits being filed. Frivolous lawsuits being filed, not fired, filed. Errol's lawsuit with Derrick James is frivolous. But Derrick James said in an interview, yesterday's prices are not today's prices. I thought it was a funny quote at the time. I thought it's funny because I was like, he said that about Terrence Crawford, like Terrence Crawford's going to have to pay more money. Then I listened. I was like, hold on. Didn't Derrick say that? And then afterwards, Derrick sues him for more money. Because basically he's saying yesterday's prices are not today's prices to Errol Spence in that lawsuit. It's just really, really funny stuff, man. It's really funny stuff, man. And I'm telling you, it's widely known information too. It's widely known information too. People know that Errol Spence Jr. broke his rib in sparring and couldn't spar. A sparring partner broke his ribs. What was in that sparring partner's gloves? And how do you spar so hard you break somebody's rib while they're preparing for a major fight? Is Errol that frail? Is he that frail? Errol had another car accident. Somebody just drove a car straight at him. Boom. It was like for a while, I was like on my watch. What's going to hit Errol? What's going to hit Errol next? I mean, for real, I don't believe in coincidence. I'm just telling you. I don't believe in coincidence. How is this man constantly in that many car accidents? Every time he gets in a car, his car gets hit. Then he has a torn retina. Then he gets a torn retina. Then he catches COVID walking in the rain. I think he had COVID. I don't think it was his synapses or the injury. I think he was sick. Is what I think. He looked like he was sick, and maybe he took some medicine because he was sick. And then the medicine made him look like he was even higher than he was. That's what it looked like to me, like he was sick. And he was still trying to lose weight, run sick, trying to lose weight. It's just a very unfortunate series of events for Errol Spence Jr., especially Errol, who was under so much, again, pressure. The campaign against Errol Spence Jr. and with Terrence Crawford was, come on, man. Dude, switch sides. Magic money pops up. For real, think about this. Magic money pops up for Terrence Crawford. Magic money pops up for Terrence Crawford. Pops up in some where he rejects a fight from Errol, gets 6, 8 million or 10 million guaranteed or whatever it was to fight on BOK Prime. Why would they just want to lose that amount of money? Because cats just wanted to stop that fight. So they made an offer to stop the fight and have Terrence sign with them. I'm telling you, this is a story behind the scenes. I'm giving you the story behind the scenes. This is the behind the scenes. I can't validate whether any of this is real or not. I don't. But that's the talk behind the scenes. Absolutely. That systematic bullying of fighters is common. Common. Gambling in gyms, common. Gambling on basketball games, common. Debts being racked up. Large debts being racked up from gambling in boxing. Trainers gambling with trainers. A trainer gambling with another trainer. And the trainer double-crossing the trainer that he bet. Right? Fighters know the trainer's biting. They may know the trainer's betting the other trainer. Right? Because they're putting them in there like dogs. But sometimes the trainer that puts you in double crosses you because they didn't bet on you, they bet against you. In a slip. In a slip. These are all things that I'm being told are common in boxing. And just so you know, I'm from Philadelphia. My family's been in Philadelphia. They were in Philadelphia for a very, very long time. They are in sports and in boxing. They're in boxing right now in Philadelphia. Bunch of family members still in boxing in Philadelphia right now. I always tell you, my granddad was in Philadelphia. Blackwell in Philadelphia. So we know the gyms. We know the gyms. It's nothing for us to know because they make fights, they train fights, they supported fighters all through the 70s, the 80s, the 60s. They know Joe Frazier, the whole nine, bro. The whole nine. So, like I said, I love boxing. I've been a fan of boxing my entire life. And I've always heard it was corrupt. That's what Victor Conti said. It's the Wild West, right? Or something like that. It's the Wild West. Right? That's what you get. That's apparently what it is. But I'm going to tell you, man, they settled the Wild West. They settled it. You know what I'm saying? They settled it. That shit doesn't go on forever. And I've been telling you, you guys playing with this gambling. You guys are playing. The gambling underneath is bad enough. Because when you're gambling on sparring and you're gambling with people in boxing, you can go in debt to them. And when you go into debt with them, you have a fiduciary obligation. You have ethical and moral obligations to your fighters. You do. They're training you and they're putting their life in your hands. And if they get hurt and had something to do with it, bro, that's attempted murder. Did you know that? If a trainer sets up his fighter, is caught gambling against his fighter, or receiving large donations from people that bet against his fighter, and that fighter gets injured, that's attempted murder in the state of Pennsylvania. It is. And they put people in jail for that. They put people in jail for that. Boxing was illegal unless it's sponsored by a nobleman. The reason why it has to be sponsored by a nobleman is because the nobleman can be trusted that the whole thing is going to be on the up and up. That's why they let the kings and the queens have these pit bull fights away from major cities in London. I mean, away from London when boxing started. Because they said, okay, we know if the king is involved, we know if this aristocrat is involved, we know that the whole thing is going to be fair and we're not have to deal with all this other stuff that goes on around it. because it's just too much drama to have to go into everybody's boxing gyms, follow them around, do all that shit. So that's why somebody like Turki al-Sheikh, being His Excellency, adds validity to the otherwise barbaric sport in Saudi Arabia, because it's blessed by the Saudi royal family. The only reason that boxing is allowed in the United States is because certain oligarchic people who like to gamble want to continue to gamble on a sport, but they don't like that boxing is not clean. So that's why boxing faded, because they're a lot less willing to invest their money, because you penny-ante criminals are sticking your hands in every pie they try to bake. Every time they try to bake a pie, you come with your little spoon dipping in it. So they say, no, I don't want to bet on that. I don't enjoy it. It's too fixed. It's not real. It's kind of like the WWE or something like that. They try to make boxing like the WWE, where they can orchestrate everything. And they orchestrate it by manipulating fighters way before the fight ever starts, through their contracts, through the whole system. Okay? And that's why a king has to sponsor the sport. It's a sport of kings. It's a nobleman's sport. But the noblemen obviously are not controlling the people that they're investing that money in. I'm telling you, it's an ugly scene. And it's always been an ugly scene. But with YouTube, it appears that the people that want to do the shit on the underbelly also want to be famous. You can't be Mr. Underbelly and be famous at the same time. You just have to be Mr. Underbelly and nobody knows you. But you pop your head out and start talking like you're big bad. People, come on, man, the case is on. The case is on, partner. The case is on. I'm going to do an hour today, because I said I'm going to start bringing you guys value. I didn't ask for super chats today. Super chat Thursdays tomorrow. I started off by telling you guys the people are they're under investigation. And they're not just under investigation by the feds. They're investigated by those people that lost that money, because they got private investigators. So if you want to know why I know this, it's because they got private investigators. And the private investigators know the federal investigation is going on. So the private investigators are the ones that go out and they find a lot of information for the people that lost the money. And those private investigators give that information to the feds and make it very, very easy for them to do their job. So I'm telling you again, if you're playing with gloves, if you're doing these funny things, and somebody's betting $50 million on a fight, you better believe they're willing to spend $500,000-$600,000 to find out what happened with that fight. And private investigators will find out everything about you and everything that you did. And they can be scrupulous and unscrupulous in their collection of their information. So trust me. I didn't take this break this time because I was stressed out, because people were threatening me and I got sick of having to deal with it. I said, I'm going to take it to the people that do it. I'm going to spend my time and my resources to make sure that I understand what's going on with y'all. And I've always told you, information systems, buddy, look them up. And look up who does big business in information systems. Your electronics, private investigators can get all your emails, all your texts. They ping everywhere you go. Those burner phones you think you have, bullshit. You bought the burner phone. They trace the burner phone. Okay? And again, it's private investigators starting. The private investigators then feed the federal investigation. Because the people that hired the private investigators are the ones that are going to file the complaint against you in federal court and in international court. And my understanding is they're filing in both federal and international court. So you think you're international, you're multinational. Trust me, people used to think they could skip states. They used to think that. They used to think they could just go from California to Arizona and they were good. But no, they can no longer do that. You used to think that you could hide yourself behind all this stuff. You can't. Okay? You're just in the naked, out in the air for these people to see everything you're doing. And again, I'm being very straight because I've been advised that I need to let you know the process that I'm speaking of. Very rich people who lost a lot of money on these fights hired private investigators to research what happened. They've collected a lot of information, and they are the ones that go and complain to the politicians that they know. Okay? So I said I would do about 50 minutes today. This is for Phenomenal Show, because Phenomenal Show always vouches for me and says Martin's connected. Martin can get you information that these dudes can't get you. And you're right. And he's very right. But again, like I said, I don't want to do a lot of that. I don't. Because it puts a lot of people at risk. But again, the process is this. You guys started playing around, and you played around and said on air that fights were being fixed. The people that felt that they were robbed with that Glovegate thing, and the people that thought that they were robbed in bets that happened in gyms, they hired private investigators. And they have a lot of money to do it. They keep them on staff. They got the information out of the gyms. They got the information from Saudi Arabia. They got the information. They take the information and then they press Trump to do something about it. And again, I'm telling you, Riyadh season was there when Trump and Putin visited, and they had that allegiance that they did. There's a lot of people that were at that fight, buddy. A lot. And you better believe everything before and after that was recorded by both the CIA and whatever that security system is for Russia. And they knew what was going on in Saudi Arabia months before they got there, and they know what's going on months after they leave. So you guys were over there talking, celebrating, drinking, smoking, doing whatever you guys do because you think that you're untouchable. Blackwater can find you, bro. I'm going to get off on this. Blackwater, they can find you, bro. Blackwater can find you anywhere. Anywhere. And again, I'm telling you, people hire private investigation firms. I'm not talking about podunk ones. I'm talking about real ones. So you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll be back talking boxing tomorrow. I hope you enjoy my videos. Thank you to everybody that supported. But I'm telling you exactly how it goes down. What's my sources? My sources are the private investigators and the people that hired the private investigators. And they say those are the people over there that we put in office. They would be hungry for this one. You have a wonderful day, guys. Deuces.